Okay, hello guys. Usually I film these videos with no real topic to talk about, but today I actually have something that I really want to discuss. It's kind of a random and weird topic, and it's a little cringy, but just stick with me. I wanted to discuss this idea of being edgy in teenagers, like edginess and like what that means and how to go about it, and more specifically, how to implement being edgy in your life while not being miserable. Because I feel like those can go hand in hand, those two ideas, like being miserable and being edgy, if you go about it in the wrong way. So, first, let's take a look at what edginess actually means. So, I did end up doing a little research for this video. So the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines edginess, or the word edgy, as having a bold, provocative, or unconventional quality. And then for further understanding of what this word could mean, the Cambridge dictionary defines edgy as unusual in a way that is fashionable or exciting. So those are the formal definitions. To me, it means a bit more. I, this is so, okay, just stick with me. I know this can read as very cringy, but I have something to actually say. I have points to make. So just like, I don't know, guys, stick with me, please. I do feel edgy in a lot of ways at times. So, and I'm also, the reason I wanted to make this video is because I just turned 18. I feel like edginess is something a lot of teenagers are familiar with and maybe try to implement. And I just feel like that can go wrong and that can go right. And it's just like, I just feel like it can be a big part of teenagehood, is this idea of edginess, of kind of like anger. And I don't really know how to describe it, but I think you could understand what I mean. But my idea of edginess is a bit different than the dictionary ones. I wrote down some things, some concepts that I kind of feel like are what I define as edgy. So I'll just read the list. Holden Caulfield in Catcher in the Rye. I feel like that's a very edgy character, but he definitely is miserable because of it. So, and by the end of, well, no, that's in the beginning of the book, so that's not a spoiler. Um, he ends up in a mental hospital by the end of the events of the book because he's depressed from his mindset and from being so like edgy. And he has things happen to him in his life. I'm not gonna spoil this book that's been out for like 80 years, but yeah. And then Daria, the MTV show from the 90s and early 2000s, very edgy show. Although if you watch the show, Daria herself does not agree with the word edgy. She detests the word. She says that it's a marketing campaign made by older people, which I can agree with in the sense of like the specific word and the way MTV and that type of brand was trying to sell edgy, but that's not the definition I'm using. So even though Daria would hate being called edgy, I'm gonna call her edgy anyway. Then like Wednesday Adams, specifically Jenna Ortega Wednesday, but the entire Adams family, like all of those series, I feel like capture this idea. Avril Lavigne, music by Avril Lavigne, peak edginess, especially when she was a teenager, but even some later stuff too. The song Hollaback Girl by Gwen Stefani, very edgy to me. Okay, I feel like I need to define this word before I keep going on, but we're just gonna go on anyway. When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go by Billie Eilish. Dyed hair, tattoos, piercings, black nail polish, black beanie hats, knowing how to skateboard, and black Converse. And then the last one is what's most important to me when I think of the word edgy, and that is being unbothered. I feel like a lot of people think of being edgy as anger. I'm angry at the world, and I'm a teenager. But to me, how I try to implement it is this sense of like being authentically yourself and not caring what other people think. And also, the list I just read is a mix of like how I feel about the word edgy and more common perceptions of the word edgy that I feel like modern day teenagers might think of. Um, I don't really know if my points are coming across very well, but just yeah. So, what else can I say about edgy? And I'm aware that the word edgy is like objectively cringy, but it's just like the word I'm using to describe this feeling that I feel like is very common in teenagers. At least I feel like it is. Um, okay, here's how to not be miserable while maintaining teenage edginess. And also, I think the reason so many teenagers identify with feeling edgy or angry or that vibe is because teenagehood is like the only time when you're kind of entitled to this anger. Because once you get older and you're an adult, if you're still angry, it just gets concerning. There's a lot of things that are socially acceptable for teenagers and younger people, but once you hit a certain age, it's very, very concerning, like casual alcoholism, drug use, edgy anger, like overall anger, depression. These things like are very frowned upon in people, I'd say like over 30 or in their late 20s, but they're very expected of young people. So I feel like that's why so many young people like to follow this concept because it's the only time we really can without being shamed for it. Like if you're like people know teenagers are going to be angry. Like a kid turns 13 and adults will warn the parent like, okay, be ready to not talk to them for a few years because they're just going to be mad. Like everyone knows that teenagers get angry and edgy. So I'm just going to define how I feel you can go about this concept in a more productive way than just being miserable. So what I mean by being miserable is like the anger part of it. You cannot go about your life angry about everything or sad about everything. I think sad about everything might be more common in teenagers today or just people today, but it's not a productive way to go about your life. And I understand that like things happen. Like there are periods of your life where you're gonna be sad and angry, but it is not manageable to go through your entire life feeling those emotions primarily. And when you're identifying with this edgy label, you're almost signing up for emotions that are not pleasant. Like I remember there was a period of years from like 15 to 17. I'm only 18 right now, but from 15 to 17 where I wouldn't smile in pictures. And that was for a number of reasons, but the primary reason was I just didn't want to. Like especially when my mom would take photos with me or of me, I was not smiling. I didn't want a photo of me smiling out there. And I just feel like that's so wrong. That just shouldn't happen. You should want to smile in photos. And one of the reasons I didn't want to smile in photos was because I was insecure of how I looked smiling. That is a valid reason to not want to smile in a photo. It's not a healthy reason, obviously, but it's more valid than just being miserable and not wanting a happy picture of you to exist. You should want to pursue happiness. You should not find comfortability in misery. That's just wrong, objectively. And I just feel like I need to bash this idea on top of the head because it's so common in teenagers. Like, I'm gonna be miserable, I'm gonna be angry at the world, and it's the world's fault. And yes, the world is fucked. Like, the world is so fucked. And we have every right to be angry about all of the things. I'm not judging you if you're angry about anything and everything. I'm just saying it's not fun to be angry about everything and anything. Does this make sense? Like, it's fun to be happy. You should not be resisting happiness. And I'm speaking from personal experience. So, ways to implement this fun teenage idea of being edgy without the misery that almost comes hand in hand with it I'm Italian, so I talk with my hands a lot, sorry, but um I feel like is to do that is to follow that unbothered aspect of edginess. And what I mean by that is unbothered. Like, let's kind of define that. I don't have the formal definitions for that, but how I think of unbothered is just being yourself and not giving a singular fuck what anyone else thinks. You're wearing an outfit you want to wear. Maybe it's a little weird to the common fucking public. You're wearing it. You're not thinking twice about it. You're walking by people. You're not looking at their faces to see their reactions. You're not even looking. You don't even know that you're walking by people. You are focused on the shit you need to do. You're focused on that assignment you have due at 5 p.m. You're focused on what you're gonna get for dinner. Okay? You're focused on your shit. You are not focused on all these other people. Those are the positive aspects of this teenage idea of edginess, especially when so many aspects of teenagehood today, especially in the digital world, are primarily driven by social anxiety. I feel like, at least in the discussions I see online and in person about teenagehood, it's so anxious socially about other kids, what they're thinking, what they're doing, what they're thinking of me, what they're saying about me. And the positive aspect of edginess is like that idea, like for me, I'm a boy, painting my nails black, not giving a shit if someone's gonna talk shit about it or give me a dirty look. People have. I've painted my nails black, I've gotten dirty looks for it. I don't give a fuck. Because if I did, I wouldn't be painting my nails black. That goes against the whole concept of edginess and of painting your nails black. I'm not doing it for attention. I didn't want attention to paint my nails black. It's my form of self expression. It's just, those are the aspects that we can take in and positively attribute and assign to our own lives, if that makes sense. I hope it does. I think I've yapped for long enough. I think I've said really everything there is to say. I hope. Um, I just feel like I'm 18 now. I'm at my prime in teenagehood to give advice on teenagehood to other teenagers because I'm old enough to where I can talk about it in retrospect and about the ideas and things that I've experienced. But I'm also still in teenagehood for another year and a half. So I'm not aged out to where I'm unrelatable. Like I just feel like this is my responsibility to tell the other teenagers about while I'm at this point in my life. I don't know. I know nobody watches these, but it just makes me feel better that this message is out there and it's not like a terribly important message or anything, but it just really intrigued me and I wanted to talk about it. And for the record, I'm aware of the irony in self proclaiming myself as edgy while wearing a bluey shirt. I understand. Okay. But I hope everyone has a good day. And I love you all. And if you're going to be edgy, be healthy with your mindset about it. Okay. Bye, fellow teenagers.